Hi everyone, my name's Andrea and we're going to be doing my chapter reviews on chapters 3 through 5 on our textbook, Reinventing Project-Based Learning. I do want to apologize as to now. I am getting over a cold, so my voice might sound a little rusty here and there. All right, let's get started. So, the general idea of this textbook is basically an accessible guide for educators so that teachers may benefit of this project-based learning in today's technology learning environment. As we move in more and more into this 21st century technology, I feel that educators, administration, as well as professional development specialists who have that interest and desire in transforming learning into a more active student-driving experience would benefit from this guide to where they can use all these new technology tools that are set aside for students to have a more hands-on learning and experience as they are learning about new concepts and new ideas through this project-based learning. All right, so let's move on to chapter 3, and this chapter is titled Imagining the Possibilities. So in this chapter, we will find identifying the core concept, the main idea, what do you want your students to get out of this lesson, as well as the planning for the rigor and digital age skills. And also is if this chapter, you will find whether this project-based learning is authentic to where can a student relate to it is the most important thing. Is we want to make sure the students have a common interest into the project that is being worked on. All right, so this next one here is what is most important. In this chapter, we discuss about the identifying the core concept and the main idea of the lesson. We want to ensure we know that what the curriculum is trying to teach. We want to make sure that that is something the students are well aware of. Is what are they trying to learn? Is there an objective in this project? What kind of product could students produce to demonstrate the learning? Also, we need to make sure that we keep our students in mind and whether our students can relate to this project by previous experiences or interest is one of actually our main goals is to ensure that these students are always kept in mind when developing a project where everybody gets to collaborate together. And what other subjects can be covered in this project? Basically, can you mix some science with some math, or depending on the grade level, can you throw in some literacy skills, some phonics that will help students understand more the concept being taught here. And like I said, it just depends on the grade level. Like I said, the main idea here is to keep the students in mind. We don't want to make sure that we don't lose the students' interest. We want to make sure that we can relate the project into child's experience or something relevant to that. I just recently did a project with my students. Part of the curriculum was teaching transportation. So I try to throw in a lot of hands-on activities. And because my classroom is filled with mostly boys, they had a thrill learning about transportation since they're fanatics of cars and trucks and all these different types of transportation, not only on the ground but in the air and in on water. So they had fun using all these different types of ideas and it due to previous experiences to create and understand the main concept here, the main idea, which was transportation. Moving on to the planning for rigor and digital age, which is considered the higher order thinking. In this higher order thinking, we analyze, we evaluate, and we create. When it comes down to analyzing, we want to make sure we get into that deeper learning and that students are collaborating and learning from each other. when we evaluate, we want to make sure everything is very well and organized, and there is this thoughtful process going through that we really think and whether this project was meaningful for our students. And when it comes into creating, we want to make sure that there's research and the ideas are visible to the students. There's the project management, which means we want to make sure that students are giving responsibilities for their tasks. There is set time frames. There's milestones being set to where we can double be checking on that, and we are not wasting just time on this project. Everything is broken down to sections, and everybody's giving something of a responsibility for other assignments. And also that there is that collaboration with this 21st century and Common Core. Collaboration is a big strategy used in many of the schools nowadays. Therefore, collaboration tends to work out very well because everybody gets to get an input from each other, and together they can develop and evaluate more into their projects. In assignment comparison they did in the book, they did discuss about the traditional assignment versus the reconsidered assignment. And traditional assignment, basically the example they gave was choose a person, study them, and write a report about his or her life and achievements. To me, that is very traditional because it is based off a book report, something that many students are well aware of. However, with the reconsidered assignment, I see more of a research and more of collaboration where students get to study 2 to 3 people in the same field. They develop principles of getting into the Hall of Fame. And then at the same time, they pick one and give a response to why they should be welcome into the Hall of Fame. So I feel that develops a little bit more of a deeper learning and a collaboration amongst their group together and discuss to why this person should be the one chosen and be able to give their response with evidence supported by the text or the research they conducted. So moving on to chapter 4 now. This one is based off strategies for discovery. So in this chapter, we discussed over overcoming pitfalls, reviewing projects, as well as designing the terrific projects. So some of the ideas discussed in this chapter was the pitfalls. Sometimes students tend to get bored when the activities seem to be really long, overly planned, or there's too many steps involved. A lot of students I've noticed have been discouraged because of the how many activities there is to do and how many steps there is to take, and they get very discouraged, especially when there's not enough focus on the formative assessment. They're not getting those check-ins to make sure how their project is going. Also, when we are reviewing the projects, we want to make sure that students are learning through real life observation, that not only are they just looking in textbooks, but they're actually viewing it outside by either personal experience or real life observations outside the classroom. And obviously, that has to do with ensuring that the project is meaningful, that the students can relate to it. Not only do these ideas correspond to students, but also to teachers when it comes into collaborating these ideas. As teachers, we tend to work with other teachers and ensure we are collaborating together. We are developing ideas that may include more than one subject. Maybe a science teacher can get together with a math teacher and develop a project where both subjects, I should say, are incorporated into this project, as well as history. And like I mentioned before, depending on grade level, you can even incorporate some literacy skills, some phonics, depending on the type of project and the grade level for the students. And basically, teachers every year are brainstorming. Every year we learn something new. There's never a dull moment in teaching. So it's very good that we continue to brainstorm throughout the year with these new projects coming out. So when it comes into the designing the terrific projects, we want to make sure that these best projects all share these important features, that they're all developed into one project. We want to make sure that the project is to be flexible. We want to ensure that if something doesn't work out in part of the project, we have a plan B. We are available to accommodate or modify the project if for one student it's a little difficult compared to another student. I know I do a lot of this with my students, and my students are special education. I need to make sure that it is accommodating to my students' needs. This is where we're listen and center on students' questions and interests. If my student has a question, I need to make sure that I am paying attention to what their questions are and taking them into consideration. Also, this helps promote learning disposition and basically the 21st century literacy skills. It does those hands-on learning, and it also utilizes the audience for sharing as in the students together and their class. Another area is reaching outside of school, doing the research and exploring. We discussed where this is where they do the real life observations. They go out outside the classroom and be able to explore part of their project. And we want to make sure that we're setting up the students where they can collaborate, learn from each other. Um, Sometimes students learn from being one person, but it's always good to get a second opinion or listen to others' ideas and put them all together into creating this project. Everybody's ideas are never dull. Everyone's ideas are always good ideas, is what I always tell my students. Everyone works together. We always collaborate when it comes down to any sort of project, that all of our ideas are placed into consideration. And now our last chapter, chapter 5, making assessment meaningful. We'll be talking about authentic assessments as well as the rubrics. And now in authentic assessments, I like this quote from the story. By taking advantage of assessment opportunities throughout this project cycle, you can help students learn a great deal more than if you leave assessment to the end. And I believe this is something very important, as many of us teachers tend to leave all of our assignments to the end. I feel that has a lot to do with the traditional assignments where we grade, we give them an evaluation and a grade, and that's it. But with this new project-based learning, we want to make sure we are checking in on them. We want to make sure we are setting milestones and we're checking the progress, and we're also helping them evaluate the project quality so we may see stronger results the next time. Also, we want to make sure students are aware of the assessment system so they know what is expected and it's easy for them to understand, and this assessment is continuous. In the summative assessment, we see objectives, evidence, and activities. What will they learn from their project? What will they need to demonstrate to show they learned? And also, what are some of the approaches might they take to go from knowing to not knowing to knowing? I'm sorry. And also rubrics. We want to ensure the rubric is handed to the students at the beginning of the project. This rubric will help students understand what the expectations are, as well as how they will be graded. Also, they will also be evaluated on the knowledge gained and the skills learned, and as well as the processes and depositions that these students used. And wow, and that is it. So here's my reference. I really enjoy this book. Has a lot of great strategies and ideas for our new technology that we're moving into, this new technology learning environment. And I am really excited to use some of these strategies and ideas to implement them in my classroom as we move in more and more into this student-driven technology learning environment. All right, thank you everybody for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Bye.